Why is it that when something good happens in our life, the first thing we want to do is tell everyone? You get a new idea, you tell your friends, you start a new plan, you post a story, you feel motivated, you announce it like a press conference. It's funny, right? We don't even finish the journey, but we already want applause at the starting line. I learned something the hard way. Not everything that matters in your life deserves an audience. We live in a strange time. People lock their doors, hide their passwords, protect their phones with Face ID, but their personal lives, unlocked, no password, shared with anyone who listens. In today's world, privacy feels old-fashioned. Silence feels awkward. Oversharing feels normal. But if you look closely at people who truly build something meaningful, you'll notice a pattern. They move quietly. Today, I want to talk about 5 very personal things you should never share with anyone. Not because people are bad, but because not everyone needs access to your inner world. Let me tell you the first one, and this is the mistake almost everyone makes: your future plans. This is the first thing you should keep to yourself. I know a student, ambitious, intelligent, full of energy. One day he decided he would learn a high-income skill. Big dream, big excitement. He told his friends, his cousins, his classmates, even strangers online. Everyone said, "Wow, you're going to be successful." 3 weeks later, nothing. Motivation disappeared. Discipline disappeared. The plan quietly died. Now compare that with people we admire. When Elon Musk was building his early companies, most people didn't know what he was doing day to day. When his work finally appeared, it shocked the world. When Mark Zuckerberg was building Facebook in a dorm room, he wasn't making motivational posts about it. He was writing code. When Warren Buffett was young, he didn't announce, "I'm going to be one of the richest investors in history." He spent years reading, learning, and investing quietly. The pattern is always the same. There's even psychological research showing that when you tell people your goals, your brain feels rewarded, as if the work is already done. You receive applause before effort, and that applause kills hunger. Plans are fragile. The moment you share them, 3 types of people show up. The first type doubts you. Be realistic. People like us don't succeed. The second type gives advice. They've never done it, but suddenly they're experts. The third type praises you. "Wow, amazing. This one feels good," and this one is the most dangerous. Because praise replaces progress. Think about athletes. They don't announce their training routine every day. Think about successful companies. They don't announce unfinished ideas. Think about people who transform their lives. You only notice them when the results are impossible to ignore. Your plan is like a seed. If you keep digging it up to show everyone, it will never grow. Work in silence. Let results speak. Share your plans only with someone who is already where you want to be, or someone who is building with you, not watching you. Everyone else, they get the trailer after the movie is finished. That's the first thing you should never share with anyone: your future plans. Because the world doesn't reward announcements, it rewards execution. And this is only the first one. Let me tell you the second thing you should never share with anyone: your weaknesses. Now this sounds strange, because everywhere you look, people say, "Be vulnerable, share your struggles, tell everyone your pain." Sounds wise, sounds modern, sounds deep. But here's the truth no one tells you. There's a difference between healing and advertising your wounds. I know a guy who was terrible at handling money. Every time he met friends, he joked about it. "Bro, I'm so bad with money, I can't save anything." Everyone laughed. Years passed, guess what happened? Nothing changed. Why? Because he turned a weakness into an identity. When you keep telling people your weaknesses, your brain accepts them as permanent. Look at how the world works. When a company has a security weakness, do they announce it publicly before fixing it? No, they fix it quietly. When an athlete has an injury, do they tell their opponents exactly where it hurts? Never. But we do this in life. We tell people exactly where we are weak, and then we are surprised when life hits us there. Famous people understand this very well. Michael Jordan never told the world what mentally broke him before big games. He used it privately and showed strength publicly. Cristiano Ronaldo doesn't go on interviews listing everything he's bad at. He works on it in silence and lets performance speak. Even in business, Warren Buffett rarely talks about his mistakes while they're happening. He talks about them after he has learned from them. Because sharing a weakness too early invites 2 dangerous things: judgment and exploitation. Some people won't judge you openly. They'll remember quietly. And one day, when it benefits them, they'll use it. Others will lower their expectations of you. Once you say, "I'm bad at this," people stop believing you can improve. And the most dangerous part, you start believing it too. Now, I'm not saying hide everything. I'm saying choose wisely. There is a place to share weaknesses with a mentor, a coach, a therapist, or someone who is genuinely invested in your growth. But telling everyone your fears, your bad habits, your self-doubt, that's not vulnerability. That's giving away your leverage. I know a student who kept saying, "I'm not confident, I'm bad at speaking." He said it so many times that even when he improved, people still treated him like the old version of himself. Labels stick. The world doesn't remember your progress as fast as it remembers your confession. You're having a bad phase. Money stress, career confusion, relationship issues. You open up to someone because you trust them. They nod, they say, "I understand." They say, "I won't tell anyone." Fast forward 6 months, one argument. One misunderstanding, one power shift. Suddenly the same things you shared in pain are now labels. Strong people don't pretend to be perfect. They just don't expose unfinished battles to unfinished minds. Fix your weaknesses quietly. Strengthen them privately. Let people discover your growth, not your struggle. Because when you finally rise, you don't want the world remembering how broken you once said you were. You want them asking, when did you become so strong? And that's the second thing you should never share with anyone. Let me tell you the third thing you should never share with anyone. How much money you really have, or how much you really don't. Money changes behavior faster than almost anything else. The moment people think you have money, their attitude changes. The moment people think you don't, their respect changes. I know a guy who once casually mentioned how much he earned in a month. He didn't brag, he just answered a question honestly. After that day, people treated him differently. Some started asking for help. Some started expecting favors. Some started judging how he spent every dollar. And the funny part, he didn't become richer. The problems just became louder. Now let's talk about the other side. I know a student who openly joked about being broke. Bro, I have no money. I'm poor. He said it again and again. Guess what happened? People stopped taking him seriously. Opportunities quietly disappeared. Even when he improved, the label stayed. Money numbers stick in people's minds. Once they know, they never forget. That's why people who truly understand wealth are very careful with this topic. Jeff Bezos lives in the same house he bought decades ago. If you saw him in public, you'd never guess his net worth. Many millionaires dress simply, talk simply, and keep numbers private. Not because they're hiding, but because they're protecting peace. Money attracts three dangerous things: envy, expectation, entitlement. If people think you have more, they feel you owe them. If people think you have less, they feel superior. Either way, you lose. Think about Howard Schultz. Before building a global empire, he grew up poor. Very poor. For years, he didn't broadcast his financial journey step by step. He focused on execution, not explanation. Even famous athletes and actors avoid talking about exact numbers. Contracts are confidential, net worth is estimated. Why? Because numbers create comparison. Comparison creates resentment, and resentment destroys relationships. There's also another silent danger. When you talk about money too much, you start defining yourself by it. If you earn more, you feel proud. If you earn less, you feel ashamed. Both are traps. Money should be a tool, not an identity. I've seen people who were doing well financially, but lost friends because of jealousy. And I've seen people who were struggling financially, but lost confidence because they overshared. The smartest move: keep your financial situation boring, unclear, and uninteresting. Don't announce raises, don't complain publicly about being broke. Don't explain your lifestyle to anyone. Let people guess. Silence protects you from judgment, pressure, and unnecessary opinions. Because the moment people know your numbers, they start doing math with your life. And that's the third thing you should never share with anyone. Let me talk about the fourth thing you should never share with anyone: your good deeds. This one is very tricky because it hides behind something that looks positive. You help someone, you donate, you support a friend when no one else did. And then the urge comes: just one post, just one story, people should know I'm a good person. I know someone who helped his friend during a very difficult time, loaned money, gave emotional support, stayed up late listening. A few days later, he casually mentioned it to others. Not in a proud way, in a just saying way. Something changed. The help lost its purity. The friendship felt different. Because when good deeds need witnesses, they stop being good deeds. They become transactions. Look at how truly respected people behave. Many of the biggest donations in the world are anonymous. Warren Buffett has given away billions, but he rarely talks about it emotionally. He lets action speak, not ego. Keanu Reeves is famous not for talking about kindness, but for quietly living it, helping coworkers, supporting strangers, without cameras. The strongest kindness is silent. In many cultures, there's an old idea: when your left hand gives, your right hand shouldn't know. Why? Because the moment you announce your kindness, three things happen. First, ego grows. You start helping to feel superior, not to serve. Second, expectations grow. People start thinking you owe them help again and again. Third, disappointment grows. When you don't help next time, you look like a bad person, even though you never owed anyone anything. I know a student who used to help classmates a lot. Notes, assignments, explanations. Everyone knew he was the helpful guy. One day he said no because he was exhausted. Suddenly he wasn't kind anymore. Suddenly he was selfish. See the trap? Public kindness creates public pressure. Private kindness creates self-respect. Look at athletes again. They don't celebrate practice, they celebrate results. Good deeds are like training. They work best when nobody is watching. And there's another danger. When you talk too much about how good you are, people stop trusting it. Real kindness doesn't advertise. It doesn't remind. It doesn't collect receipts. I've seen people post about charity and forget the people they help the moment the likes disappear. And I've seen others help quietly for years. And the world eventually notices without being told. Do good. Help people, be kind. But don't turn it into content. Let your character be discovered. not declared. Because the loudest good deeds are often the weakest ones, and the strongest ones nobody ever hears about. Let me tell you the last thing you should never share with anyone: your family problems, your relationship issues, the private battles inside your home. This one is dangerous because it feels normal. You fight with someone you love, something breaks, you feel heavy, and the first reaction is to talk, to vent, to explain your side. I understand it, but here's the hard truth. Once you invite outsiders into private relationships, peace leaves quietly. I know someone who had a small argument with their partner. Out of frustration, they told a friend. That friend agreed, made them feel right. The fight ended. The relationship continued. But the friend never forgot. Every future mistake became proof. Every small problem became "I told you so." Because people remember stories, not resolutions. Family problems are emotional. Outsiders don't hear love, they hear drama. And they judge with incomplete information. Even famous people protect this line carefully. You rarely see truly respected leaders exposing family issues publicly. When they do, it's usually after years when the situation is resolved. Many successful athletes and entrepreneurs keep their personal relationships extremely private. Not because they don't struggle, but because they understand something important. People who are not living your life should not help write your story. Once you complain about a parent, partner, or sibling to the wrong person, two things happen. First, respect decreases. Second, bias begins. Even if you forgive, others won't. Look at Will Smith. Once personal relationship struggles became public, they stopped being personal. They became public property. I've seen couples reconcile beautifully, but friends stayed bitter on their behalf. I've seen families heal, but outsiders kept reopening old wounds. There's also another danger. When you talk too much about relationship problems, you start seeing your loved ones only through their worst moments. Your words shape your emotions. What you repeat, you reinforce. This doesn't mean suffer in silence. There are safe spaces, a counselor, a mentor, one trusted person who understands discretion. But turning family or relationship problems into casual conversation, jokes, or content, that breaks more than it fixes. Your home should be your safest place, not public discussion. Protect the privacy of people you love, even when you're angry at them. Because loyalty is not proven when things are perfect. It's proven when things are messy. Keep private matters private. Some problems need solutions, not spectators.